Good morning, everyone. Yes, I still drive that 1984 Volkswagen van. That is my cosmic van. See, going through outer space. It's pretty beat up, but I tell you, when I drive it down to Newport Beach, I am the envy of all the surfers. And they always try to buy it from me. Now, in 1965 or 4, I bought a 1960 blue Volkswagen van. And as a matter of fact, I moved back to California in that van. And that was my band's travel van. And it was totaled by band members driving it. But I've also had a 1977 Volkswagen van, and this is my third car in my life. I've never owned a new car. A little bit of biography there. Welcome again to another installment of Ask Baba Lon. Yesterday, for the sake of timing and such, I skipped over this one little letter I'm going to read here first at the beginning of today's installment, so I'm going to pick up where I left off. This letter was, I've headed up AA an Aberration and Dirty Old Men in the OTO. And I've left this letter capitalized and punctuated as it was originally sent because I believe the writer considered it a preferred style. It's kind of unique. He doesn't capitalize the I and a few other things. Mr. Babalon, I have been working up trying to ask you a few questions for a while now. I read your book, Understanding the Thoth Tarot. It was most concise and practical read. I found it elucidating at the time. However, I usually prefer rather dark formulas. And the more esoteric, deep works of Kenneth Grant. I like the stream of consciousness to it. The book itself held a magical charm to it. The way that if you actually read it, it would get under your skin a bit. I suppose that leads me to my questions. I was inspired to seek out the OTO because I read of Crowley's magical exploits and his exploration of the internal realms. I have come to understand that the OTO represents the social order that represents his logos, and that it is, in truth, the AA that is engaged in the pursuits of higher ritual magic. So my question is, does the AA even exist anymore? Or is the so-called great work merely represent an aberration? It seems like it's almost an exercise in futility. I've talked to a lot of people. I haven't met many who are very serious. Also, I wanted to know what your take on what some would call the inherently homoerotic nature of thelema. 90% of Thelemites I met are nothing but dirty old men who want to seduce me. I'm not going off on a tirade or trying to rail at you about my expectations. I have learned to have none. I'm writing this because I had utilized a lot of esoteric philosophy in personal development, and I had seen the dissonance between its letters and its practice. Isn't this a good letter? According to Rigardi, in the Tree of Life, magic is the noble art, the tradition of alchemy. I try to incorporate a lot of this into my work, but I'm curious as to whether or not people live by it, if that tradition is alive at all. Name withheld. Dear Name Withheld, my current understanding, and this may change at any moment, is that the AA is, as it were, an attempt to identify and stratify the spectrum of human consciousness, and as long as consciousness exists, there is AA. The level or frequency of consciousness with which you currently identify as self is your grade in the AA. In essence, this has nothing to do with organizations or other individuals. The only person who can ever be sure of living by the traditions of the noble art is you. As long as you are focused on whether others are living up to your expectations of your own work, are living up to your expectations, your own work will remain inadequately addressed. As for the percentage of, quote, dirty old men who want to seduce you, I think that is despicable. And I'm sad to hear that has been your experience. Baba Lon. All right. Now let's pick up where we left off yesterday. Other good letters. Be My Mentor is this category. Dear Baba Lon, or Baba Lon. My wife accuses me of babbling more than Baba-ing. Let me introduce myself. My name is Name Withheld. I've acquired that name in honor of the master of presumptuously sounding magical clan name, and the lord of very serious sounding dark adjective magic. I'm a budding Thelemite who's found it hard to find a proper mentor to aid me in my studies. Though I've begun my required reading, my progress has been hindered due to the fact that I have no one to direct any questions to. I'm not asking you to take on an apprentice. I'm simply asking if you would be available to answer some of my future questions to the best of your understanding, as I know that each person interprets the path differently. If you would find no qualms with this, I would be greatly appreciative. If you cannot, I understand. Now, this is a similar letter to hundreds that I get because it really is very, very difficult to find a reliable or even a safe magical mentor. So I totally understand. Hi, Name Withheld. As I read over my letter below, I sound really crabby. I'm not really being crabby as I sound, so please, as you read it, apply a jovial lilt to my voice and picture a happy twinkle in my eye. I'm happy to correspond as much as my time and energy permit. But I hope you understand that my time is limited, and I get many requests similar to yours, and that many of the best questions require many hours for me to properly answer. I'm a slow typist, among other things. Furthermore, it seems that many times the people asking questions could have easily discovered the answers themselves had they done the modicum of homework themselves, or at least spent 5 minutes on a Google search. I've concluded that I'm never smarter or wiser or well-informed than in my published works. I try to write things I would have loved to have read in the early years of my studies. To avoid making me feel like an unpaid reference librarian, I would hope that you have at least done me the courtesy of first reading my books that treat upon the subject of your questions. Lastly, I must be honest with you. I'm a lazy man. I get between 50 and 200 emails each day. When I receive long letters, I almost always instantly tag them, and then I move on. Sadly, I must also confess, I never get back to some of the short ones either. I'm out of town or out of the country a good deal of the time, and I've got deadlines for books and articles I've already been paid to write, because this is what I do for a living. I teach a weekly class live and an online class. And sometimes I just want to sleep, watch TV, or get drunk. And sometimes, believe it or not, I actually meditate and engage in magical operations. Anyway, I hope you take all of this in the spirit it is intended and will feel free to keep in touch. Babylon. The next question is, yes, we've got some time. I've entitled the section, Alone in the AA. Lon, I have an issue. My focus is not all together, and I need your suggestion on this. Should I use the student reading curriculum of the AA, or should I go another route? What practice do you suggest I should be doing day in and day out? I'm trying to regroup and get my focus together. Without some kind of step-by-step plan, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. Is this common to people that are new to Thelema? There's not an OTO near me, and the closest one is near blank. I'm just looking for a little help. Your friend and brother, name withheld. Hi, name withheld. I honestly don't know you or your situation well enough to confidently advise you. Even if you had an OTO body near you, you'd still be dealing with the same issues, minus perhaps a little fellowship and the comfort of knowing that everyone else feels pretty much like you. I can only tell you what I did at the beginning of my magical career. I assumed that the AA really was a true inner plane magical order, and that I was already part of the process. I typed out a copy of the probationer's oath, read it aloud, signed it, and burned it. Then I set to work doing the work of the probationer as best I could understand, as it is outlined in 1 Star in Sight, which you can find in Magic in Theory and Practice, and Book 4. I convinced myself that if I conscientiously did the work, my efforts would not escape the attention of the secret chiefs, or whatever the hell you want to call them. At the end of 1 year, I did the same thing with the oath of the neophyte. And when I felt ready, the oath of the zealotor, etc. At every stage of my development, I come into contact with the right people and circumstances that have served as teachers and spiritual links I need at those precise moments in my magical career. But the real magical society I belong to is otherwise completely invisible and profoundly personal. In other words, at least in my case, it is a matter of starting to do the work first, and the teachers, with further instructions, will then come. Baba Lon. And here's one I think you'll probably will finish up today. This section comes with another Baba Lon illustration. Let's see there. Baba Lon is a sphinx. OTO for a Freemason. Dear Baba Lon, I am a fellow Freemason and occult student. Somewhat uneducated, but serious nonetheless. Haha. I know that you are very involved with the OTO, and after reading a lot of your work, I've decided that I would direct some questions to you, if you'd be so kind to read them. I must admit, and I'm sure you understand, in my opinion, it's ignorant just to trust anyone who claims to have occult knowledge. And so it's my opinion, based on your work, that you are someone who can be trusted to converse seriously about these matters. With that said, here goes. I'm interested in becoming a member of the OTO, but as I mentioned, I have serious trust issues with anyone claiming to have occult knowledge. So my question is, are the rituals and practices involved truly beneficial as far as obtaining results? Name withheld. Hi, brother, name withheld. The magic of the OTO is focused pretty narrowly on the dramatic rituals of the degree initiations. Like the rituals of Freemasonry, the efficacy of their effect upon the benefit to the candidate is purely a matter of what the member chooses to do with that experience. The magic of the OTO is that one also finds religious expression in its central public ceremony, the Gnostic Mass, Liber 15. Here, too, it's a matter of what each individual chooses to do with that experience. It's good that you have serious trust issues with anyone claiming to have occult knowledge. Other than the organizational hierarchy, which is routine business, not magic per se, there is nothing resembling a classic student-teacher relationship in the OTO. Unless your questions have something to do with the plot or the tokens or signs of recognition of a degree you have not taken yet, there is no proprietary or degree-sensitive knowledge or teaching. If anyone in the organization presumes to have occult knowledge, they do so either because they are deluded or because they do indeed have occult knowledge. Like in all other areas of your life, it'll be up to you to spot the phonies or the adepts. The OTO, or any organization or individual, cannot project enlightenment on you. In the OTO, nobody reads your diaries. Nobody presumes to judge the level of your attainment. Like Freemasonry, you might find a certain degree of fellowship and an opportunity to meet people with whom you have a great deal in common. Then again, you might not. You might find jerks and assholes in the OTO. Then again, you might sometimes be a jerk or asshole yourself. Success in the rituals and practices of OTO is 100% dependent upon what you bring to the table. I hope this has been helpful. Baba Lon. P.S. I'm sure you've read it before, but just in case, here is the OTO's mission statement. Ordo Templi Orientis USA is the U.S. Grand Lodge National Section of Ordo Templi Orientis, a hierarchical religious membership organization. Our mission is to effect and promote the doctrines and practices of the philosophical and religious system known as Thelema, with particular emphasis on cultivating the ideals of individual liberty, self-discipline, self-knowledge, and universal brotherhood. To this end, we conduct sacramental and initiatory rites, offer guidance and instruction to our members, organize social events, and engage in educational and community service activities at locations throughout the United States. And that's where we'll stop today, I think. We've gone about 20 minutes. Tomorrow we'll pick up on the section of letters concerning sex magic in the OTO. And that might be a fun thing for us to do this weekend. So get your weekend started. Take the rest of the day off. It's Friday. Go home or to the next room. Anyway, continue to enjoy yourself. Continue to be safe. And promote others to be safe around you, too. Be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Have a good weekend, everyone.